Welcome back to The Rebel's Edge, where today we're going to discuss a return to selling because the sellers are back in charge. NASDAQ down 1.5%, Dow also following down about 1%. But is there hope for those of you who are still long? There might be. Stay tuned for The Rebel's Edge. Bam.
It's official. Let me tell you something. You were holding up the book a second ago. And here's the beauty of it, John. There it is. It's not an option. Number 4 for John and I. So a buddy of mine said, hey, Pete, I've got some people that would like, the book that you and John have. Could you sign it? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I was meeting up with some guys, some old high school friends and college friends and so forth for dinner last night. John, all of a sudden there was a parade of people at the table because, I didn't know how many they wanted. So I just brought a whole, box of them or whatever. Every one of them gone. Everybody's coming up going, do you mind signing this thing? Yeah, whatever you want. I really didn't come here with that intention, but, it all of a sudden turned into a Congo line. Dun, 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 dun. So it was pretty classic, but great Italian place. I talked to the general manager afterwards, apologized to him, and he said, look, that was actually funny and great and awesome. So he didn't even care. But I was over in your old stomping grounds with your wife, Edina, Minnesota, actually.
Ah, Edina. Nice.
Yep. Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. Well, I had to tell Pete folks that if you are not coming down to Vegas and instead you want to go to South Florida and have a bunch of mutual funds and people talk to you about mutual funds, you're not really all about winning, are you? As Charlie Munger would say, if it scares you to invest in a company that might drop by 50%, you're never going to get the outside returns you would like to get. Those outsized returns come by taking a little risk. And because of what Pete and I do, especially what we preach in this book, it's not an option. We can show you how to take a lot less risk. Ain't nobody down in Florida telling you about that this week, Pete. It's a circus, but that's about it. All right. Let's get into macro minute, Pete. Macro minute. So I'm going to say key focus is, of course, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, and the Russian president, Vladimir Putin. That's the biggest focus, although the attacks that Israel resumed overnight in Gaza are not helping things that much. So there's a little more fear, not just uncertainty, but fear in the air today. What do you got, Pete?
Well, some of that fear, John, also stretches right over to the Fed, which, by the way, 99% chance, that's a 99% chance that they're going to pause. The problem that's going on right now, John, is the recession talk, and a lot of that attached to the tariff talk. And when you put all of that together, that's where we're seeing some of the confusion for people. And tariffs have now replaced inflation. We've watched inflation sort of come down, right? I mean, 2.8% last week. We got the PPI, the CPI. We've got all this data. But, there's still some concerns out there. So I would say that is something that we look forward to hearing from the Fed. We already know what they're going to do, but we would like to hear what they say about the economy and everything else, inflation and so forth. So that's my macro.
Fantastic futures, Pete. I'm going to say the gold contract trading over 3,000 and back to 3,038. That's pretty much the focus right now. I mean, Pete watches the VIX, as do I. But the other thing you can watch right now for risk off is gold. And when gold's going up like that, up 1.5% today, that's risk off.
I think you're exactly dead on. I mean, this move in gold has been swift, and finally with the breakout over 3,000 and then pull back and then another break to the upside. Gold is on fire. Silver is on fire. We don't talk about silver as much, and maybe we should. I don't know. But silver, John, fast approaching 35. I mean, this thing was, hovering around 26 to 28 for the longest time, it felt like. Now it's broken out to the upside. I'm going to do this as well. VIX gets a 7% lift today. Now, when you look at the VIX, we never were able to break down yesterday with 2 great days in a row. You had Friday, you had the weekend, you got Monday, and we couldn't get under 20. Well, we're back up there somewhere closer to 22 right now. That's something I definitely am keeping a close eye on after all of the moves that we've seen, the huge move on Friday, the massive move again on Monday, and now, of course, the sell-off. We're seeing a nice spike in the VIX right now.
Well, let's dive into some stocks, Pete, shall we?
Yeah.
And I got to start with Sarepta. Although it came off its bottom, which was down 26%, it is nonetheless SRPT trading down hard on 9 times full session volume by halfway through the trading day. Why? Well, they have a muscular dystrophy treatment, and unfortunately for them, obviously for the patient, and for Roche, they are somewhat responsible, apparently, for the death of a patient that took their treatment, and the patient died almost immediately. So that's not good, and 20% haircut is what the result is.
Yeah, and a new 52-week high or low, all the way down to 75, John. So yeah, did they get beat up today? Yeah, should they have? Probably, but
Yeah.
there's a lot to this story. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a really difficult thing. Matter of fact, that was the first death of the 800 that have used this particular treatment. $3.2 million per treatment, John. There is a prescribing. They're going to get after that a little bit differently in terms of the information that people should know, because there was some other factors that were playing into this. Obviously, it's terrible. It is the first approved drug to do what it's trying to do. There's a lot to go into this whole thing. I would say that, are they getting beat up? Probably for the right reasons. I suppose so. That's the tough thing about this. What they're doing is they're working with people who have definitely been compromised in a big way. And so, you almost wonder, is something bad going to happen? And obviously, that's about the worst thing that could possibly happen is you've got a death. It's just one of 800, but nonetheless, this is something that certainly is pressuring on the stock today.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, how about something pressuring to the upside, Pete? Yeah. Against a somewhat dismal market today, we've got Boyd, the Chinese automaker, BYDDY. This is one of those that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett bought years ago, Pete, and I should have never sold after I bought it with them. But it is running. It's only up another 3% today. It is only worth more than Ford, General Motors, and Volkswagen combined. Why? Well, they have a charging system, Pete, that they claim, granted this is a claim from a Chinese company, folks, but it'll be tested soon enough outside of China. But the claim is it will charge a battery in 5 minutes and give you 250 driving miles. That is a huge breakthrough in battery tech. That's why it's trading up.
Yep. They got an unbelievable balance sheet when you look at that, John, from the fundamental side, but you're exactly right. New highs over 105. So brand new highs, all-time highs, all of that. Really, really great news. I like what you said when you said that's what they're reporting, because, this is China, guys. I mean, everybody in the world on the financial news networks, almost all, they will always come on there and talk about China as if they're the U.S. They are not. Let's always remember they are communists, that they are not capitalists. And so always keep that in mind, because we hear things and oftentimes do they really play out? So, I mean, that's just the truth of it all. So always keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, as you said, John, they have done everything right. This stock has moved dramatically to the upside. It was up as much as 6% and it pulled back off of that. But it's got a market cap now, John, of I think it's like 158 billion or something like that. So this is a company that was a startup, then turned into something a lot bigger than that. And pretty impressive what they've done, especially like when you just said, hey, they're now bigger than Ford, GM, and VW combined. I'd say that's saying a lot.
It truly is. And, they deserve the accolades and the rally that they've had, if they really can charge a battery to basically full in 5 minutes, because then it's competitive with gasoline, Pete.
Yep.
Not a lot of us can go to a gas station and get in and out of the gas station in under 5. if this thing will really charge that fast. And of course, where are those so-called superchargers? I'm sure it's not quite the same kind of charger.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Bakkt Holdings. BKKT is the symbol here. It's down over 30%. Why? Well, software as a service, and what these guys are is a platform that enables customers to buy, sell, and store crypto. Okay, we get it. That's a pretty big deal. And Bank of America thought it was a big deal. Webull thought it was a big deal, and Webull is, a huge brokerage firm. Well, all of a sudden they decide, nah, not for us. And when they did that, Pete, when they gave them the Heisman, it kind of fell out of bed, right?
Oh boy. I mean, down 32%. That one hit, pretty unbelievable levels. And, there's a lot of shorts in there. So that makes this one pretty interesting because you know what? If you were short and the stock is down 32%, you've done pretty daggone well for yourself. At what point do they potentially start to maybe cover some of that? Or do they just keep saying, you know what? We don't really like what's going on and we don't like it enough to even think about buying. But the reality is, with Bank of America, John, it was about a 17% service revenue is what they were contributing. The big one, though, is Webull that you brought up. That one, 74% of the crypto services. So that is a major hit. That's not good at all. So unless there's somebody out there, that decides, hey, maybe these guys weren't right to get out of this whole thing, maybe it's a great opportunity. Maybe we can see this thing start to move. But I'm sort of in the camp of, if I were one of these shorts, which I'm not, but if I was, I think I would pause for a while and just kind of keep a very close eye on this thing, because it could continue to go lower if they can't get that partnership that they already have had and now it's gone. So it could be pretty interesting to see how this plays out. But for right now, John, they are pounding the stock, and I see no reason to say, you know what, I'm a hero, I'm going to try to buy it. I don't see that at all.
Well, how about ESLT, Pete? This is Elbit Systems. They blew out numbers like you rarely see people blow out numbers. And what do I mean? Revenue 1.93 billion versus 1.78. Yeah, so it's a couple 100,000 more. But how about this, Pete? Adjusted EPS 266 a share versus 195 was what they were expecting, and 156 a year ago in the same quarter. So, in other words, they're earning $1.10 more per share to the bottom line this year than last year. That's pretty damned impressive, wouldn't you say?
I'd say absolutely. You're 100% spot on, John. I mean, and when I look at this, and this is something we've been going through all through the earnings season, is some of these folks that they're really not paying attention to the year over the year or the month over month. I think that's really important. I think that's as important as the earnings themselves that they're putting out there. So, yeah, for them to be up that much year over year from 156 to 266, yeah, I'd say they're doing something pretty right over here, John. And new all-time highs at 414. So that was pretty impressive. Their free cash flow is another thing that I think is worth mentioning too. 300 million, not so bad. That stock up about 10%. Massive backlog. How about that, John? They got a backlog right now, $22.6 billion as a, so you got a backlog of that. And then you look at where they sit. They're in the aerospace security defense world. Sounds to me like they're in the right spot right now for this thing to continue to have a really, not just a good day, but maybe a good year. So as we watch this thing move to these all-time highs, I don't know that it's done.
Yeah, it's and it's in a space, Pete, when you talk about DOD, Department of Defense, and all that kind of stuff. The things that they do are things that virtually every branch of the service wants and or needs. And that's a good space to be in when wars are heating up in Gaza. And we'll see what happens with President Trump and President Putin today. I hope, fingers crossed, they can get something done there. But that Ukraine war has been going on for 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awful.
All right. Well, we think we have a pretty interesting video to share with you guys today. It's about Chase. That's Jamar Chase, and there's a picture of him right there. His contract was so big, Pete couldn't even lift it. It was that big. I mean, if you put all that cash into $100 bills, I don't know if you could lift it.
You probably couldn't.
The biggest non-quarterback contract in history. But anyway, let's let the video tell you the story, folks.
Do you have any idea how much Jamar Chase is truly making off of this new contract? Because I crunched the numbers. I did the math. It's bananas. So if you live under a damn rock by now, Jamar Chase just signed a 4-year, $161 million contract extension with the Bengals. Now becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And on top of that, T. Higgins also,
I remember when that was a lot of money.
Paid wide receiver 2 in NFL history, but that's a story for another time. But I just love talking about money, so I looked at how much he's making per hour, per minute, and per second. So
per hour, per minute,
$110,274 every single day. $4,595 per hour, $76.58 per minute, and $1.28 per second. Just think about that. In April, when this guy isn't even playing, he's just doing some training or even on vacation, he's making $110,000 a day. Then if we get into what he makes during actual playing time, just while he's on the field, assuming that he plays a total of 11 minutes per game, he's making $215,241 per minute. $87 per second of playing time. Come on. Now, these numbers are obviously...
I think he's right on all accounts.
Do you think these NFL contracts are getting a bit out of hand?
Just a bit. Just a bit out of hand. You know what? And how many times have we said already just this free agent season, John? We've said, well, he's now the highest paid non-quarterback. We've said that at least 3 or 4 times about different players that are signing some of these deals. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what we're seeing going on in the NFL right now. Obviously, there's almost limitless money because of what's been going on with the salary cap and how popular the NFL really has become. And I'll tell you what, I give a lot of credit to a lot of people, including myself. I played in the World Football League when we were exploring things over in Europe. Now they go to Europe and they play games over there all the time. Remember NFL Europe and all the rest of that? They got the whole Brazil thing going on, John. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to do anything in the Asian markets, but who knows? I mean, if they get excited enough about it, maybe so. Just like baseball and what baseball's been doing. I was watching a game today that was getting played out in Tokyo. So, it's pretty interesting. So they're obviously trying to do a few things as well, but really, really interesting to see this. And again, I'm going to say what I said yesterday. You're giving too much money to too many wide receivers and you don't got enough guys to block for your quarterback. That ends up being a bad trade. So I'm just going to go on the record for that again. John, why don't we hit a little bit of the other sports? So in the NFL, got a guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers, probably one of the biggest names to be a free agent in a really, really long time. Do you know who signed him? Nobody. Nobody yet, anyway. And I think it speaks volumes about, number one, his age is something. He can be a disturbance on and off the field, probably. I mean, that's just, I think, fairly obvious. But he's going on this same pathway as what we've seen from his predecessor, Favre, right? Favre was at Green Bay. He had a great run in Green Bay, goes to the Jets. You know where he went after the Jets? He comes to the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers, John, and he was disappointed. He wanted to go to the 49ers. He should have gotten picked by the 49ers. He wasn't, and they kicked him even lower. So he's got a little Tom Brady in him. And instead, he goes to Green Bay. Well, now he went to the Jets. And by the way, I am so sick and tired of all these lazy son of a bees that come out there in the sports world and tell us, John, well, he didn't have a very good year last year either. He had the injury year, and then he came back last year, and he stunk. And I'm like, it's interesting that he stunk. So let me give you this. He is the number 8 quarterback in the NFL for yards. Now, let's remember, this is a horse crap team in the Jets. So he's number 8. He throws for 3,900 yards, 63% completion. He had 28 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. Do you know what Patrick Mahomes had? 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So let's see. Let's just think about this. Was he really that awful? Because if he was, I didn't hear anybody saying how awful Patrick Mahomes was. Not one word about him being awful. Not one. And yet, you look over at Aaron Rodgers, he got 2 more touchdowns. So that doesn't really jive. Anyway, I just looked at it, John. You know what? If he goes to the Vikings, one of the smart things would be for his sake would be he's getting to a team that had a terrible offensive line that has made some improvements. Now, all that being said, even though I did give them an A, the 4 guys that they signed, 2 of them are on the offensive line. They've been hurt. The 2 kids from the Colts. So are they hurt bad? I don't know. But it's one of those things where they're still going to have to protect, and they've already gotten rid of, they cut their center just today. So it's a great landing spot potentially, but he hasn't signed yet. And I don't know when he will, but it still seems like it's Pittsburgh, it's the Vikings, and I don't even know after that.
It's not the Giants. It's not
I don't
the
think
Giants.
it's the Giants. So what do you think?
I don't think anybody in New York, even though you're right about the stats, Pete, the stats put him in, there's 32 teams in the league, right? So the stats have him in the top quartile.
Yep.
See how I did that, man?
Pretty good.
But
You must be a financial guy.
almost. But yeah, maybe I could go down to that circus in South Florida, Pete. Put on the big red nose and walk around with those guys. But yeah, I think overall what we're looking at is a likelihood that he does follow in Brett Favre in his footsteps.
That's young Frankenstein for the 2 young people that are out there.
Yeah, for the people that are too young. Well, what else you got, Pete?
All right, so next up, John, we still have free agency going on. I'm going to the NFL a lot because it's still a really big deal. And when you look around, you got to just look and say, okay, this quarterback went here, this quarterback went here. Now all of a sudden their draft looks a little bit different, right? I mean, because if you got the guy that you kind of want for your quarterback, like, for instance, Sam Darnold going to Seattle, well, Seattle's not going to draft a quarterback. They just got this guy, paid him a bunch of money. That's true of a lot of them. So who are the best 3 quarterbacks going into the draft? My opinion is different than most, but I will say Cam Ward, because he's pretty awesome, good size. He does take chances, but he doesn't really throw all that many interceptions, John. But he did throw for 18,000 yards in 5 years. So that's not a bad number for him. He's been all over the place. But, I mean, he's been at so many schools, it's unreal. Then Shedeur Sanders, I got him at 2. I actually like Jackson Dart right there with those guys, too. I think he was looked over a little bit. Now, all of a sudden, I think his draft stock is going higher. But I got a dark horse, too, John, that I'll throw out to you. Because everybody focuses on those first 3 or 4. We get tired of that. We all know who they basically are, right? And all that. So here's a dark horse for you. Nobody's talking about this guy. Curtis Rourke from Indiana. 6'5", 225 pounds. All he did was a 70% completion rate for the Indiana. I mean, let's remember who Indiana is in the Big Ten. Oftentimes, great basketball school, but oftentimes sort of towards the bottom of the football ranks, right? Well, they weren't this year. They had a damn good football team, as a matter of fact, this year. Brand new coach, brand new quarterback, and the whole deal. He threw 29 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's big. And you know what? One last thing that I'll say about him, and then I'll let you take it, John. He was the number 2 passer in ratings for the entire country. So it's funny to me how a guy like that somehow gets no notoriety at all. They don't pay attention to him at all. And granted, he might end up being available as late as, I don't know, 3rd round, 4th round, maybe. And this guy is a baller. So I really think it's one of those things where all these GMs and all these bozos who go with just whatever dumb numbers they've got, if they really were numbers guys, they'd look and see, hey, this guy's the number 2 passer in all college football. I didn't know that. But wow. They don't know that.
Well, your Jackson Dart information there, Pete, is spot on with Mel Kiper Jr. Because a guy that Pete and I respect a lot, if you watch football and the draft, you know who we're talking about. Mel Kiper Jr. Is brilliant and a bit of a soothsayer. Yeah. And he says, I'm hearing Jackson Dart goes to the Saints.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And the kid's good, and he impressed at the combine, Pete. So I guess I wouldn't be all that shocked if indeed he did. go to the New Orleans Saints. That'd be a pretty good spot. I mean, he played at Ole Miss,
Yep.
so obviously I know he plays in a dome if he plays for the Saints, but he's used to being in the South. He's a kid from Utah, so I think that would be an interesting spot for him to wind up. I got one more thing to throw out to you, Pete.
Sure.
Sort of a new Pete yesterday talked about Pitino, I think, right, Pete?
Yep,
With
Rick
the
Pitino.
St. John's.
Mhm.
Well, on Thursday, St. John's plays Omaha, Nebraska, Omaha, University of Nebraska, Omaha, UNO, I guess.
Yep.
So not the
Okay.
University of Nebraska, but they're an 18-point pick, and it might not be enough. So I'm going to say, Pete, that I would go with Pitino and St. John's in that game on Thursday. How about you?
I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I was looking at that one as well because I thought it was really interesting. Nebraska Omaha had a great year, but you know what? Having a great year in the conference they're in is not the same as the great year that St. John's just put up. And this is only the second year for Pitino as the coach of this team, and he's already got those guys not just winning, but he does not mind running up the score. So I agree with you. I mean, Pitino, he's not going to apologize that his guys are so good, right? I mean, he's an aggressive coach who's probably one of the best college basketball coaches, not only just right now, but probably in the last few decades. I'd put him right up there. You know, I mean, if you got four faces, I think Pitino would be one of those four right now because he is a special coach, but he doesn't always play by the rules of the guys. Well, we'll take him off the court and we'll let these guys go on. No, he is going to run and gun. So I'm going to take the over.
Like it. Well, let us know what you think, folks. Who do you like, UNO, or do you like St. John's like we do? We'll show you the results tomorrow, maybe. But thank you for joining us. We will be back tomorrow with yet another Rebel's Edge. We encourage you to check out marketrebellion.com/get started if you're somebody who needs option education and or if you'd like to subscribe to any of the subscription information we've got, from short squeezes to the Rebel setup. We've got it all. Check it out, and we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.